Hello, welcome to Natural Approaches to Seasonal Allergies. My name, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mara Jones. I'm a clinical herbal therapist and an integrated sleep coach. And I work here in the Cadet Regional District. And I'm excited to share some knowledge with you today. It should take us about an hour, and if there's any questions, we can open up questions after the seminar. I'll stop the recording so we can do so privately. And if you're signed up and you're not here live, I will be emailing this out to all the participants with a copy of the slides. I'm going to get started. So this is actually my first Zoom seminar that I have done with registered participants, and the first Zoom seminar I've recorded. So fingers crossed that everything goes well. Let's get started. So I am going to share my screen. I'll kind of go back and forth between myself and the screen. So I am going to get this. Let's see. Share my screen. Uh-oh. How do I share my screen? Here we go. So, natural approach to seasonal allergies. What are we? Oh, there we go. So, hopefully that's all the technical difficulties I'll be having. Today, we are going to be talking about seasonal allergies, also called allergic rhinitis. I can also touch on environmental sensitivities. A lot of the approach will be similar, as well as histamine. Any of the histamine complexes, we can touch on those as well. I'm going to be talking about the treatment goals. We'll talk a little bit about allopathic approaches as opposed to holistic approaches, and what approach that I usually use, and it's usually a mixture of the two. And more specifically, we'll be going into nutrition, herbal medicine, and aromatherapy, and how these can be used in the treatment and prevention of these seasonal allergies. And then we'll go into questions afterwards. So I'm thinking it's going to take about an hour. I'll try not to go over that. If you have any more questions, I'll be giving you my contact information after that, and you can always reach out to me. So I will try not to talk too fast. Here we go. So what are we talking about? We are talking about allergic rhinitis, otherwise known as hay fever or seasonal allergies. For some people, they're not seasonal. Sometimes some people experience them throughout the whole year, but for most people, there's certain times of the years that they are affected more often or more severely. Usually it's in the spring. This is when there's a lot more pollen in the air, and that is one of the major contributors. So saying here, inflammation of the upper respiratory system. So in your nose, your sinuses, throat, all of those are feeling very inflamed. And this is caused by an allergic reaction to environmental allergens. So most commonly pollen, dust, mold, and even animal dander. So what exactly does this mean? So your body is essentially overreacting or reacting improperly to something that's in the environment that is pretty normal. It's supposed to be there. Pollen is supposed to be in the air. Animals, there's not everybody reacts to animal dander. Dust is everywhere. Your body shouldn't see this as something that is abnormal or something that it should fight, but people who experience allergic rhinitis or allergies, their immune systems are reacting improperly to it. So their immune systems are reacting to the pollen or the dust, whatever it is they're reacting, allergen, like it is a pathogen. So they're saying, well, this shouldn't be in the body. Maybe it's something that's going to hurt us. So maybe it's a virus, a bacteria, maybe it's a toxin. So it's reacting to it as if it shouldn't be there, when in reality, it's something that's normal and that shouldn't really cause this reaction. Common symptoms. If you suffer, you should be pretty familiar with these. The most common ones: sneezing, runny nose, congestion, itchy eyes, itchy nose, sore throat. Often you'll get postnasal drip. Other symptoms might include headaches, fatigue, which we'll go through a little bit why this might be, even depression and anxiety. Often allergies will be associated with asthma or eczema. That's considered to be an atopic condition. So sometimes they'll exist either in the same family or in the same person together with these other conditions. So what is causing this? So we know that it is an allergic reaction. One of the biggest culprit, and there's a few, it is a little bit more of a complex reaction, but one of the biggest culprits, and I'm sure we've all heard about it, is histamine. So histamine is something that's very important. Your white blood cells, particularly cells that are called mast cells, they release histamine, which then produces an inflammatory reaction. If there is actually a pathogen, so if there's a bacteria or a virus, something like that, this is a good thing. We want our body to be able to produce histamines and other compounds that are going to fight these. But in this case, for whatever reason, your mast cells are releasing histamine in response to pollen or dust, etc. So what does histamine do? It causes inflammation in that area. So usually the histamine is released in the nasal area. That's where you're breathing in the allergens. It's also going to cause vasodilation. So your capillaries, your blood vessels in the sinuses and the nose, those are going to actually expand. And it causes bronchoconstriction. So that's where you can get the congestion. You can also get that asthmatic type cough, that type of thing. Now, interestingly, histamine also acts as a neurotransmitter in the brain. So, and this means that it helps your neurons communicate with each other. So what role does histamine has if it's being used as a neurotransmitter? Well, actually it promotes wakefulness and it suppresses REM sleep, among other things. High histamine is also involved in anxiety, and there is some links to depression as well. So if you have chronic high histamine levels, often you will experience fatigue because you're not getting a good sleep, insomnia, and possibly even some anxiety and depression. So this isn't necessarily always a part of seasonal allergies, but if these are things that you are experiencing, there could be a link. And some of the steps that you take to help with the seasonal allergies can actually help with these other things. All right, so before I go any further, I just want to talk a little bit about really what does it mean when I say a natural approach. So there's a few different types of medical approaches to really anything. One of the ones that's most common in North America, in the Western world, is allopathic medicine. So this is hold on, I can't this. There we go. So allopathy is the treatment of disease by conventional means. So you're using substances that have the opposite effect to the symptoms. So if you have inflammation, you would use an anti-inflammatory. If you have, if you've got congestion, you would use a decongestant. The issue with allopathy is that it does tempt to really just focus on what is going on, what's visible right now. So if we were to take a purely allopathic approach to seasonal allergies, you would really just, you would treat, okay, let's do something that is going to reduce the congestion, reduce the itchiness, maybe reduce the histamine levels or prevent the histamine release, but it's not really going to get to what we would call like the root of the problem. And that's where holism comes in. So holism is treating the person and treating the whole person. So instead of just treating the symptoms, so just treating just the physical ailments, you're actually trying to look deeper and you're taking into account all of the different aspects of a person. So you're really, so for instance, talking of seasonal allergies. So, okay, we understand the process. So there's inflammation, there's histamine, there's an overreactive immune system. So we can use herbs to treat those things, to actually help to reverse those symptoms. But we have to ask ourselves, so if you just do that, you're going to be using herbs all the time. Every spring, you're going to be, oh, gotta start up my natural remedies for allergies. And that's great. And maybe that's all you want to do. You want to get away from using over-the-counter antihistamines. You want to you want to feel some relief without having to reach for like a pharmaceutical. Amazing. But if you take a little bit deeper, more of a holistic approach, so then you start asking questions. Okay, well, why is my immune system overreacting? What else is going on? And this is where I'm not going to be able to go too deeply in this class, just because it's actually quite a personal thing. I mean, not personal as if it's none of my business, but it's very, it's different for each individual. So one of the common things for seasonal allergies is when you have an immune system that is on high alert, often there will be some deeper triggers. So maybe there's another autoimmune condition going on. So like asthma, eczema, could even be thyroid issues, like a Graves' disease or something like that. Could be rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. Maybe there's some other autoimmune disease that is sort of the main thing that's going on, but because you have this autoimmune reaction going on, it's put the immune system on high alert, and that causes your immune system to react. So it's not that your autoimmune condition is causing your seasonal allergies, but it's causing a situation in your body that makes you more prone to overreact to other things. One of the more common causes or root causes can be what's called leaky gut syndrome. So if the gut lining is not working the way it is supposed to, it ends up letting in larger molecules of food, things, it lets in things that are not properly processed, that really shouldn't be let in the form that they are. That again can trigger this high alert from the immune system. So yes, so if that's the case, and that could also, it could be food allergies. Maybe you're consuming foods that you're constantly reacting to. Could be there's a number. It could even like high stress. That can also really change your really affect the immune system and the endocrine system, how it works. So all of these things really just keep asking those questions. So yes, use the herbs and the foods that we're talking about today to manage the symptoms and actually even prevent them from happening, but also start asking yourself some questions. Start maybe asking practitioners, so what could be triggering my immune system from overreacting? So if you start to, so for instance, leaky gut, if you start to make some changes that help to remedy that, then you're going to get to a point where your immune system is less reactive, and you're not even going to need to have the antihistamine herbs, to have the anti-inflammatory herbs, because your immune system is not going to react. So I hope that makes sense. So allopathy is not bad. Most of us use herbs in an allopathic way. If you go to the health food store and you say, I would like a natural antiviral, or I would like a natural antihistamine, you are using herbs or natural products in an allopathic way, and that is fine, and that's great. We want to treat our symptoms to make ourselves more comfortable, but we should also ask some questions about, okay, what other changes in my life do I need to make to help to prevent these from occurring? All right, enough about that. Let's continue on. Okay, so I think that is all I wanted to say about that. So let's just dive right into, so what we've got our seasonal allergies. We've got inflammation going on in the sinuses, the nasal passages, sometimes even in the lungs and into the throat. This is being caused by a improper reaction by the immune system. So kind of put these in layman's terms. We can go a bit deeper in the questions as well if you want to. So calm down the immune system. We would use things what we would consider to be immune modulators. So we don't want to depress or suppress the immune system. We don't want us to be open to colds and flus and stuff like that. What we want is to use products or compounds that are going to help regulate the immune system so that it is not over or under reacting. Also reducing inflammation. So at the time when if you're having an immune reaction, you're out there, you've just come out of a field of cottonwood and you've come in, you've got all these reactions. You want right away, you want to reduce that inflammation. That is going to get rid of a lot of those symptoms. We want to tone the capillaries in that in that area. Now, a lot of the things that are going to reduce inflammation will do that. But if you remember what I talked about with histamine, one of the things that it does is it causes vasodilation in the blood vessels in the upper respiratory system. By toning the capillaries, it's just going to help we're going to reduce the mucus production, we're going to reduce the inflammation, and we're going to reduce the availability or the transmission of the histamine to that area as well. So we don't want more histamine. We don't want any more of the inflammatory compounds to get to that area because we don't need them. So toning the capillaries is something that we can do. We want to open up the airways. So the lungs, but also you think about when you're all congested, you want to take a deep think. Things like peppermint or eucalyptus are going to open it up. You can get a bigger breath in there. And then we want to soothe those mucous membranes. And that is, after a while, things are going to get really raw, and because they're inflamed. So these are all the things that we can do using natural compounds. And then we just talked about this. I also ask, why is the immune system on high alert? Is it because of digestion, stress, compromised liver? So quick question or quick thing on the compromised liver detoxification. I'm not just talking about your days, oh, you need to detox your liver. I'm talking more specifically for people who are really sensitive to chemicals, who have like chemical sensitivities. That is actually not just an immune, like an allergic reaction. That is often caused by an inability to detoxify certain compounds by the liver. So you actually will get, because you actually do have a buildup of specific toxins from certain chemicals, because the liver enzymes are not being produced in a proper manner. The detoxification in the liver is not happening the way it should be. So if those are causing the symptoms, like a rhinitis symptom, then you really need to address the liver before you can really see any improvement. We could talk, if anybody has questions specifically about that, we can definitely talk about that. Okay, so moving very quickly, I can't believe how fast this time is going. So moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition for seasonal allergies. So keeping in mind those things that we talked about, anti-inflammatories, and the toning. So one of the things that often you will see in health food stores that is recommended is a product called quercetin. So quercetin, quercetin is a bioflavonoid that is found in high amounts in citrus peels, but also in berries, peppers, apples, onions. Leeks are really high. Think about brightly colored fruits and vegetables are going to have high amounts of quercetin. Quercetin works directly on the mast cells and actually helps to prevent the release of histamine. And in addition to that, it actually helps to tone those capillaries and reduce the inflammation in the nasal area. So a really great compound. You can definitely take it in the supplement form. For if you're experiencing allergy symptoms right away, you can take up to 2,000 milligrams of a quercetin supplement. That will help to reduce your your symptoms right away. But also including these foods in your diet every single day is going to help to calm down those mast cells, to actually help to prevent them from releasing that histamine. Foods that are high in enzymes. So enzymes such as bromelain and papain are, I'm not sure of the name of the one in kiwis. I will get back to you about that. They are highly anti-inflammatory. They actually work really, really well with quercetin. So you will often find supplements that will combine quercetin and bromelain. It's actually a really great combination. Really, really works quite quickly. But you can get that in your food. So fresh pineapple, fresh papaya, those will work great. Those will really help to reduce the inflammation. Foods high in EFAs, so essential fatty acids, things like fish, particularly salmon, sardines, anchovies, avocados, olives, seeds, nuts, those are all going to be really high in omega fatty acids. Those are going to have to increase the production of anti-inflammatory compounds in your body. So these are going to help to just reduce the overall inflammation in your body. If you are in the middle of having a reaction, I wouldn't say go and take like an omega supplement. It's not going to really, it's more something that works slowly over time. It's more of a preventative thing. Something like the quercetin, that is going to help to work right away as well as prevent. The enzymes could work quite quickly. The EFAs in the diet as well as in a supplemental form, those are really just going to decrease inflammation over time. Green tea, which is high in EGCG, and I recommend just using the abbreviation, but it is short for epigallocatechin gallate. It's a compound found in green tea, smaller amounts in black tea, but more in green tea as well as white tea. And this is also helps to reduce histamine release and is anti-inflammatory. So switching from coffee over to green tea is actually another way to help with your allergies. And then adding cooking with anti-inflammatory herbs, particularly the turmeric, ginger, the garlic would be great because it is high in the quercetin. And then also considering going back to the idea of the holistic, consider doing an elimination diet to determine if there are some food allergies that may be a contributing factor. If you're eating foods that you are having an immune reaction to, that can put your immune system more in high alert, and that can increase the severity of your seasonal allergies. Okay. Herbs for seasonal allergies. So again, if there's any herbs, any foods you want more details on, you can definitely get a hold of me. I will answer your questions. This is an hour, is not a lot of time to go through everything in huge detail, but I hope that by the end, you will be able to make just kind of create a little, a few things that you can integrate into your daily life. I don't like making things super complicated. I'm not saying you should do every single one of these. At the end, pick out 3 or 4 that you think would easily integrate into your daily life and focus on those. So, herbs for seasonal allergies. Before I get into the herbs, I just want to say that I am trained in Western herbal medicine, meaning herbs that are used in Western Europe as well as North America. There is some herbs also that's used, so that are more considered to be Chinese herbs, like licorice or ginkgo. We also do use some of those. But it's a pretty sort of allopathic approach to herbal medicine. So it's not it doesn't have, Western herbal medicine doesn't have its own modality like Chinese herbal medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, where they're using things like qi or damp or meridians or anything like that. It's based on Western medicine, but with a herbal approach. So very research based. So some herbs for seasonal allergies. Going again back to the actions that we're looking for. One of the great things about herbs is that there are some herbal antihistamines. One of them that you have probably heard about is stinging nettle. So that's a very popular. That one is definitely, it grows wild all over the place. There's tons of it here on the West Coast. And another one is butterbur. Now, butterbur it's pretty much, I usually only suggest it in a supplemental form. I do not use it as much as stinging nettle, simply because butterbur can sometimes cause gastrointestinal issues. But if you also, it's also really, really effective for migraines. So if you have migraines, or if you have sinus sort of allergy type headaches, that is a really good choice. But again, it's usually only available in the supplemental form. Stinging nettles, you can use in a pill form, you can use it as a tincture, you can use it as a tea, you can eat it fresh, you can cook with it, you can steam it. It's so versatile, which is why I like to use it quite a bit. So nettle has a compound in it that helps to, like quercetin, helps to reduce the release of histamine. So you can take it, if you know when your allergies usually happen, so you think, oh gosh, I usually react when the broom blooms. Well, take a look at that. I think that's usually May and June. So you can start taking the nettles 2 or 3 weeks beforehand and actually help to prevent the release of the buildup and the release of the histamine, and it's preventing, you can actually reduce your reaction to the broom. You can also, if it's too late, all of a sudden you're reacting, you can still take the nettle and it'll still be effective. Herbs that are high on flavonoids. We already talked about the quercetin and the other the foods that are high in flavonoids, so like the brightly colored ones. When we're looking at herbs, again, it's the berries and the brightly colored herbs. So things like hibiscus, rose hips, hawthorn, bilberry, any of the berries. Hibiscus is really effective. One thing to note about hibiscus is that it is actually a common allergen as well. So if you're one of the people who is allergic to hibiscus, obviously that is not a good choice for you. But for those of you that aren't, it's amazing. It's very high in vitamin C, very high in bioflavonoids, and tasty and beautiful. Anti-inflammatory herbs, you can use them in your food. The turmeric and ginger I already talked about. But you can also take those in a tea, in capsule, tincture. You can use those in many different ways. Olive leaf, I've used that in tincture and capsule form. That works. It's great antiviral, but it also works. It helps atone and reduce inflammation in the upper respiratory system. I haven't used it really much as a tea. I'm not sure that I really have access to it as a dried herb, but And then things that you can use when you're having a reaction, so things that are going to help to open up those airways. So peppermint, cardamom, eucalyptus, any of those really, even things like lavender and things like that. But those ones, the peppermint, cardamom, eucalyptus, I use those quite a bit. Those really help to open up the airways and allow you to breathe more easily. Also, it just really helps. It just makes you feel fresher, cooler. The peppermint is a really nice cooling herb. And you know, like when you're having the allergic reaction, you just feel like hot and inflamed. And so having something cool works really well. And then, so I'm saying herbs for specific symptoms. So everybody is going to have a different set of symptoms when it comes to seasonal allergies. One of the common ones, I could have just written it on there, but one of the common things you get is the itchy eyes. And one of the best one is a herb called eye bright. And you can use that. You can use that internally, but you can also use that topically. So either soaking a gauze pad and just laying it on the eyes, or actually using it as an eye wash, and really, really, really reduces the irritation and the itchiness and inflammation, sort of the redness. So if that's one of your main symptoms, I know my mom used to suffer from that. That was her main thing, was those itchy eyes. So eye bright works really, really well for that. If your main issue is congestion, so using some of the expectorant herbs, so things like marshmallow root can be really, really effective because it helps to liquefy some of the mucus to help you expel it, but it also soothes out everything. Things like licorice can also be really effective. Colt's foot, those type of things. So then we also talked about things like anxiety, fatigue, depression. So if these are things that you are suffering from, you could then, when you're building your own personal remedy, you could use herbs that support those things. So like St. John's wort or something like that, if that's something that is associated with your reaction to the environmental allergies. So just to where are we at for time? We're doing great. So before I move on, I just want to talk a little bit about, I've been throwing out these words like teas and tinctures. So I just have a little, see. Can you see? I don't think you can. All right, I'll just hold it up. So three main ways that you can use, or most common ways that you can use herbs. One is as a tea. So here we've got, I just have a little teapot here. So nettles, peppermint, and hibiscus is a beautiful, beautiful tasting and looking tea. Let's see. Maybe I can get that to brew while we're, here's some hibiscus. Oops, you can see that. This is stinging nettle. This is just dried stinging nettle. And then we've already seen peppermint. It's already in my here. You could also add ginger. So peppermint, hibiscus, ginger, nettle. That's like a super amazing, easy. You can find those at any health food store, probably a lot of places that you can buy your herbs bulk. We'll see. I'll see if we can get some. So I've just mixed those three herbs in there. So it's super easy. You get the dry herbs, You want to steep it. So therapeutic teas, you want to steep at least 10 minutes. Does bring out a little bit more bitterness, but you're going to make sure that you get all of the compounds out of there. Teas used therapeutically. Ideally, you're doing those multiple times during the day. Just one cup of tea isn't necessarily going to cut it. But if you are having a big reaction, having a cup of tea with those ingredients will do a couple things. You're going to immediately reduce the inflammation. You're going to reduce the histamine levels from the nettles, but also just breathing in the peppermint is going to help to open things up. It's going to smell nice. It's going to make you feel better. The other thing, so this is a tincture. So that is a liquid extract of a herb. A tincture is alcohol-based, so herbs steeped in alcohol. You can also get herbs that extracts using glycerin or honey or vinegar even. The alcohol extracts tend to draw out the most compounds, but if it's something that you want to avoid, you can use one of the other ones. Which reminds me, I didn't mention honey. Honey is also a really great anti-allergic food that you can incorporate. So using honey to make a product would also be really great. This one here, I don't know if you can see, this is euphrasia, which is eye bright. So what I often will use this for, you can use it internally, but you can make an eye bath with this. So take about 1 ml, which if you're buying tinctures, usually it's a dropper full. So one of the dropper fulls. Put that in about 30 mils of water and of hot water. So boil the water, put about a dropper full or 1 ml full of the eye bright tincture. That's going to help to dissipate the alcohol. So you don't want alcohol in your eye, obviously. And then you could either soak a gauze pad, put that on the eye, or you can use an eye cup, or if you don't have an eye cup, you can use a shot glass and actually put that directly onto the eye. You open your eye, you allow the eye bright to in the water to rinse the eye out. And that is, as I mentioned, that it really, really helps to relieve those itchy eyes. You can, so eye baths, you can use a tea. I tend to use a tincture or an extract instead, simply because it's a real hassle to try to get all of the little bits out. So if you're making a tea, often little bits of the herb will get in there, little floaties. You don't want to be putting those in your eyes. So you end up having to strain it through a couple different types of, or through gauze. And I'm too lazy for that usually. Not that I say lazy, but I just find the tincture is easier. There's absolutely no chances of you getting a bit of herb that is going to cause more irritation in the eye. So that's my recommendation. But you can certainly use a tea bag or a gauze soaked in tea as well, just as long as you're really careful about not getting any of the little bits in there. So that is, and then so the other common way to take herbs is as a capsule or a powder. You can use a powder in like a smoothie or something like that, or a capsule. A lot of people find that they just find that the capsules are easier, and that's fine as well. All right, moving on. We've got about 15 minutes left. So aromatherapy for seasonal allergies. So I am trained as a clinical aromatherapist. This was training well before it became a real thing, way before doTERRA and all those things. So I do take a little bit of a different approach from that. Oh, here's that sneezing guy again. So using essential oils. So two main ways that you can use essential oils for allergies. One is to use it as an inhalant. So either adding it to some water and inhaling it, sort of adding it to the boiling water and put your head over it with a towel, inhaling it. That is going to help to open up those air passageways. It'll help just with those symptoms. So great ones for that, or eucalyptus, peppermint. We'll talk a little bit about the creeping hyssop, as well as some of the anti-inflammatories. Even frankincense would work. But one of and that's great. You can also add it into your diffuser. You could add a little bit of water on your stove and add a few drops in there, in a pot of boiling water. I'm just getting that into the air. That's going to help with those, to help to open up the passages, decrease the bronchoconstriction in that. The other way that you can use essential oils is to apply them to your skin. And this isn't done as often, but this is one of the best ways that I use them for allergies. And so it will actually, the essential oils do penetrate the skin, and they actually do get into the bloodstream, and they do have a physical action in the body. So for these, anti-inflammatory oils such as German chamomile, blue tansy, yarrow, helichrysum, which is also called immortelle. Another great one is Naya-Uli, which there's some research that shows that it is an antihistamine as well as the green myrtle. So these ones are maybe not as common. You're not going to see those. If you do a Google search on essential oils for allergies, I guarantee you are going to see peppermint, lemon, and lavender. And that is because there's some big companies that I will not name sell kits with peppermint, lemon, and lavender. And they're really useful. I'm not saying that those are not good ones to use, but they're not necessarily super specific for seasonal allergies. The peppermint, great for increasing, for the opening of the passageways, but there's more specific ones that you can use. So here, great, applying it. How do you apply the essential oils topically? You can put it in like a little roller ball. So the ones that have the little roller on it, and then you can just apply it for allergies. You can apply it up on the forehead, around the neck, along the back of the neck. That way the compounds are going to get into the bloodstream in and around the head, but you can also apply it to the wrist, or I don't suggest the bottom of the feet. I'm not sure why the bottom of the feet is recommended for putting essential oils on, because it's not actually the best way to get essential oils into the body. But yeah, back of the neck is a great one. You can also just use it as a body oil. You can do it. If you're applying topically, essential oils topically, you do want to dilute it in a carrier oil. So that could be something like rapeseed oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, coconut oil, anything like that. Usually anywhere between 2 and 10% essential oils, and the rest is going to be the carrier oil. Usually I usually aim about 5% essential oil and 95% carrier oil. You don't really need much more than that. Other questions that I usually get about essential oils is taking them internally. For some reason, just over the last few years, there's definitely been a movement towards using essential oils more internally. They can be really effective in the digestive system. So if you have colic or gas, bloating, those type of things, they can be quite effective. But for the rest of them, they actually aren't that effective. So taking any of these ones I've suggested internally for seasonal allergies, the compounds actually end up getting broken down in the liver, and not actually getting into the bloodstream in the form that they are going to produce the results than if you were able to do it topically or inhalation. So taking it internally is actually not the best route for the vast majority of reasons you would be using essential oils. Plus, they're very strong remedies that your body, you can really overdo it quite quickly. It can also cause real problems in the esophagus, causing just some irritation in the esophagus very commonly. Okay, enough about that. So quickly, I've got a couple, I wish you could smell them. Naya Uli, one that I really love to use for seasonal allergies. You want to blend with something else. Does not smell nice at all. Not to be confused with neroli. Neroli is orange blossom. Beautiful, beautiful oil. Naya Uli does not smell anything like that. It's kind of like rotten tea tree. It's not nice, but adding it, mixing it with like a peppermint or mixing it with something else or eucalyptus, something like that, really, really, really effective. Blue tansy, blue tansy, chamomile or German chamomile, yarrow, they all have a compound called azulene in it, and it actually makes the essential oils blue. So you can't really see it because it's a dark. I wonder if I can. So the essential oil is actually a dark blue. It's really beautiful. So that is really anti-inflammatory. You can use it on muscles and but you can either inhale it as an anti-inflammatory for seasonal allergies, or you can apply it, and it's really, really effective. It works very quickly. So you can pretty much use them interchangeably. The blue tansy, German chamomile, and the yarrow. Yarrow is much more expensive. You don't find that very often. I find the tansy has a nicer smell. Roman chamomile does not have the azulene in it, so you want the German chamomile. Immortelle or everlasting or helichrysum, those are all the same names. The helichrysum is the Latin name. That often is used for skin healing. So it really helps reduce scarring. So you use that. A lot of people will use that in skin care products, but also again, extremely anti-inflammatory in the nasal passages. So that's a great one. Again, I probably wouldn't use that as a steam because it's quite expensive. But you can use that as a topical, and that works really well. The eucalyptus. Now, I don't know if you can, that's coming through, but I like to use, oh, I should stop sharing here. Stop. Oh, I don't know if you didn't see the whole time. Eucalyptus radiata. So that's the type of eucalyptus. It's a lot, there's lots of different species of eucalyptus. So Eucalyptus globulus, there's the lemon eucalyptus, the Eucalyptus radiata is really, it's more gentle, so it's safer to be using on children, around pets, that type of thing. And it's also safer to use a little bit more long term. So I like to use the radiata. It's also a little bit of a softer scent. I just realized that whole time that I was showing you things that I was sharing my screen and you didn't see anything. So that is the blue tansy oil. It looks black on my finger, but it's actually a very dark blue. It's really beautiful. Let's see. See, here's the tea. It's starting to get a nice pink tinge from the hibiscus. That's the hibiscus. Peppermint nettle. I would also probably add some ginger into it. I'm just showing all the things that you couldn't see while I was sharing my screen. There is some stinging nettle, dried herb. Here is the eucalyptus. Here is the euphrasia tincture. I think that's all the things that I showed you. We're almost done here. So quickly, the hyssop. So hyssop is a really, really, really great one if you have allergies, that seasonal allergies as well as asthma. Really, really helps with those with the asthmatic symptoms. But it's really difficult to find. You want the creeping hyssop, not the regular hyssop. The regular hyssop actually does have some toxic compounds in it. I'm not sure why they sell it, actually, but this one is Hyssop officinalis decumbens. So that's the one that you want. This brand here is Living Libations. That is the only one place that I've been able to find in Canada that sells it. So you can get it through them. Okay, so we're pretty much out of time. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just going to give a brief recap. So natural approach to seasonal allergies. You want to take the allopathic approach to deal with the symptoms and the actual inflammatory reaction. You can use foods, anti-inflammatory foods. You can use herbs. You can use essential oils, all to help to reduce those symptoms. You can use them ahead of time to actually help to prevent those symptoms. If you want to go deeper, I really suggest working with a practitioner or doing some deep work on your own, trying to figure out, okay, keep asking why. It's caused by your immune system being on high alert. Why is your immune system on high alert? Is it digestive? Is it stress? Is it autoimmune? Is it hormonal? Often, that's the other thing I didn't mention. Oftentimes, women in particular will kind of go through their whole lives without having any allergies, and they will have a change in hormones, so either through pregnancy, menopause, puberty, and all of a sudden they'll have seasonal allergies, or the reverse. Sometimes they'll have them all their life and go through menopause, and all of a sudden you don't have seasonal allergies anymore. So if that's the type of situation, then you want to help to get some hormonal support, that type of thing. If you want any more details on any of what I've talked about, any more details, I really just had to skim through everything. You will be getting an email from me. You can contact me through my email, which is mara@urbanearth.ca. You can get more information on my website, which is www.urbanearthteas.ca. If you go under the education section, this recording will be there. And you can also, I totally forgot to toot my own horn here. I also have a couple products that I have made specifically for allergies, seasonal allergies. I have a tea called Allergy Relief Tea, which has been really incredibly helpful for a lot of people. It contains the nettles, peppermint, cardamom, elderflowers, believe the hibiscus and ginger. I believe that off the top of my head. That's super tasty, works really well. I also have an essential oil roller that contains a lot of the herbs that we talked about. It's got the helichrysum, green myrtle, the hyssop, the creeping hyssop, the blue tansy, the nyauli. It does not smell like rotting tea tree because it's blended. So that's something that's pre-blended. So if you don't want to go out and get your own herbs or your own essential oils, I've got some ready to go. That is on my website for Urban Earth Teas. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again. I have another thing going on in 2 weeks, part of my apothecary classes. We are going to be talking about sweet violet and heartsease. So my apothecary sessions every month, I focus on a different herb. We talk about how to grow it, how to use it, how to prepare remedies with it. It's all super focused on one herb, so we can really get to know one particular herb. This month is sweet violet and heartsease, and that is on April the 19th at 12 p.m. Same by Zoom. And again, I'll be recording it, so if you can't make it, you can still access it through my website. All right, signing off. Thank you so much.